Nigeria is officially in a recession as global oil prices continue to decline and the value of the naira weakens against the dollar. Indeed, the consequence is biting hard and it's affecting the pocket of many Nigerians. It's tough times for Nigerians as the state of the economy takes its toll on their lifestyles.
The reason is that if you look at Nigeria, we base on importation. We're only a consuming country. We doesn't export anything. So what goods did we expect in our economics? We don't have most of our industries now. If you look at our foreign investors, many of them are running away. Apart from the oil, we have nothing to export. That is the problem why we are facing this hardship today.
Actually, it's affecting us, but what else do we do than to be doing our business? We can't depend on anybody again. Just go ahead, do what we feel like it will help us. So if we depend on this present government, we will fail.
It's not a funny matter right now because things are really, really difficult. People are really struggling. So many people are losing their jobs. And those of us that are or young people that are trying to start up businesses or they are into businesses right now, they are really complaining also because people don't have money to come and patronize their businesses. So it's really tough on everybody, both the young and the old.
Nigeria, who relies on oil for a big chunk of her revenue, have been hit hard by the collapse in oil price, since crude oil sales account for 70% of government income. The situation is further made worse by the attacks on oil facilities by Niger Delta militants, which has hugely affected the nation's crude production. According to figures from the National Bureau of Statistics, the country's economy contracted by 2.06% in the second quarter of 2016, the second straight quarter of declining growth. The price of oil has fallen from highs of about $112 a barrel in 2014 to below $50 at the moment.
We have high inflation running to about 17% year on year. We have a high level of unemployment and underemployment. Factories are closing and retrenching people. Companies that are operating in a very harsh environment and they are no longer making profits. And even the governmental sector is not delivering the kind of services it should deliver in terms of quantum and quality. So at the end of the day, it's like a car in a reverse gear when it ought to be in the forward gear, because a reverse gear is built as part of the car for you to go backward. But you put on the gear 2 or 3 for it to move forward, and instead the car started heading back, and you were not looking at the reverse mirror, so you are likely to crash.
According to the World Bank data, the last time Nigeria had this magnitude of economic decline was under the regime of former military president General Ibrahim Babangida, when the economy recorded consecutive decline of 0.51% and 0.82% in the first and second quarters of 1987. In the second quarter of 2016, the nation's gross domestic product declined by 2.06% year-on-year in real terms. This was lower by 1.70 percentage points from the growth rate of 0.36% recorded in the preceding quarter, and also lower by 4.41 percentage points from the growth rate of 2.35% recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2015. The progression of growth in 2014, when Nigeria was deemed fastest growing country in Africa, is a sharp contrast from the present.
We have gas, we have other mineral resources in this country. And lately, if you look at what is just happening now, the youths in this country, you have millions of young men and women that are waiting to do something, to contribute to the economy, but they have no means to do that. And it is not a surprise that Zuckerberg is in Nigeria and the Google guys are coming to Nigeria. They've seen the enormous potential, but because most of our people in this country, most of our so-called rich men or businessmen and women, they are not seeing the potential in the knowledge economy. And I'm telling you that watch out, in the next few months, you will begin to see startups rising from, coming up from a lot of other places in Nigeria, because these people are coming again to tap into the resources that we have, the knowledge resources. And that is one of the things we have been missing. We just think we just have to start real estate, we have to be contributing to so many of those things. But the knowledge economy, the knowledge base of what the technology can bring us further and what we can generate with technology. I mean, this is what we have been able to tap. Let's forget about oil for a minute and think about the other mineral resources we have. Let's think about the mining industry. We've not been able to tap into the mining industry. A lot of things are going on there. Let's think about maritime. Let's think about fishery from the ocean. How many of these fishing trawlers do we have again? So there are a lot of things we have not been able to look into. I think sometimes it's good for us to have this kind of recession, and then it will wake us up, and we'll be able to come out of this slumber and think of positive things for this country.
However, there were signs that this was coming. Back in January 2016, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, was in Nigeria and proposed some measures that would address the state of the economy. The IMF had predicted Nigeria's growth rate at 1.8% for the full year 2016.
I would like to use 3 R's, and that's going to be my policy refrain, as in a song. The first R is resolve, the second is resilience, and the third is restrain. So act with resolve by stepping up revenue mobilization. The first step in our view is to broaden the tax base and reduce what you called the leakages by improving compliance, enhancing collection efficiency. And I was delighted to hear that the government's program is precisely along those lines. At the same time, public finances can be bolstered further to meet the huge expenditure needs. For example, not only should there be better collections and an increased coverage, but in our view, as a signaling effect, a slight increase of the VAT rate might be efficient and important. Currently at 5%, if it was brought up a little bit, it would be a good indication that the authorities are serious for the medium and long term in collecting revenue from a base which can no longer be oil driven. I know it's hard. I had my days in Parliament trying to raise VAT, not an easy task. But frankly, in Nigeria, you have probably one of the lowest VAT rate in the entire continent. So little effort on that front would give a strong signal, coupled with better compliance, more efficiency in collecting, and a larger coverage.
The situation was showing us that, look, it's negative. So we came out, I think I came out last month at the Senate and said, look, we're technically in recession. Let's start having this discussion so that we now know how to get ourselves out of it. And that's what I would like to focus on. Now, the question about inflation at 17.1. Our sense on the inflation, if you dimension what's causing this inflation, is what we call cost push inflation. That is, because the exchange rate has changed, because petrol price has changed, that has changed the prices of goods, because that transmits itself into pricing. It costs more to move goods, and therefore the sale price of goods has gone up. It is cost push inflation. Now, when you have cost push inflation, it is unlikely, it's structural inflation. It is not going to respond to monetary policy tools, such as increasing the rate of interest. It will not. We have to address the structural causes of the inflation.
This day we are witnessing was going to come anyway.
Yes.
The journey began in 1986 with a structural adjustment program. I am not an economist. I cried out then that forcing us to devalue our currency the way we were doing every week for 30 years was a highway to disaster.
With no reforms.
No reforms.
Devaluation without reform.
No reforms. We just kept auctioning because Nigerians just love imports. As we speak today, in spite of the difficulties we face, if you go to some supermarkets here, you see a bottle of champagne selling for 1,500,000 naira. Is that our priority? But so we love imports too much.